Right. So yesterday I talked about non-static variables. I talked about static variables. I told you non-static is for the object. Okay. Static is something which is common for all the objects. Okay. Right. Yes, all the classroom recordings will be provided to you. Okay. Fine. Um, Static is the property of the class. Fine, so if I am writing static int wheels, then all the cars will have the same wheels. Okay, so if I create a function in this car class, for example, public void move, okay, and I'll just write over here car moving and the name of the car. Okay, so this is a non-static function. Okay, move is a non-static function. So in your test class, okay, in your test class, you can call this function with the name of the with this object. Okay, this move function would be there in both the objects. Okay, C1 is pointing towards the first object as we saw yesterday, and C2 is there. Okay, so the non-static properties name and the move function would be there inside these. Okay, the static property number of wheels will be somewhere in the common location in the memory. Okay, so when I write over here c1 dot move, okay, so when the move function is called, it will print the name of c1 only. When c2 calls it, it will print the name of c2. Okay, right. So if I write over here c2 dot move, and when I run this, see, it is printing first car moving A, then car moving B. Right? Okay. So it is the respective, the function will use the respective variable. Okay. For that particular object only. Fine. So this is the advantage. Right. Now, coming over to Selenium. Okay. Coming over to Selenium, I'll create a new project over here known as day 2. And I'll add the Selenium jar files in this. Okay, yesterday I talked about adding the jar files, right? Okay, I'll click on add external jars and add the jar files of Selenium in this project. Okay, fine. Right, and what I'll do is that this is the source folder. Okay, inside the source folder, I'm going to create a new class known as drivers underscore Selenium. Okay, fine. Now let's talk about Selenium. What are the different driver classes in Selenium and how we use them? Right. Look, if you are not able to see my screen properly and it is lower in font, double click on your WebEx. It will maximize to the optimum size on your PC. Okay. So the font will also be clear. If after that it is not clear, then let me know. I'll increase my font size. Okay. So now out here, if you go to the official website of Selenium, that is seleniumhq.org, and if you go to the download link, here is the Java doc link. This is the documentation of Selenium. Okay, right. Now over here, you will find that these are all the classes inside the Selenium API. You don't need to learn all these classes. You don't need to remember them. You can refer the documentation whenever you need. If you remember few of them, it's more than enough. Okay. Now there are various drivers in Java. Sorry, in Selenium. Okay. These are the drivers which are mentioned over here. These are the drivers. Each driver represents a particular browser. Okay. So, okay, I'll just increase the font size. Hold on. I'll increase the font size. Is it better? Out here, right? Fine. So if you look at the documentation, this is the documentation of Selenium, right? And these are the driver classes. Fine. Each driver class, what is this interface, WebDriver and all, will come over to it. Okay. But first of all, you need to understand that each driver class over here represents a particular browser. Fine. Like yesterday we did Firefox driver. Okay. If I create the object of Firefox driver, fine. If I write over here, just right. If I write Firefox driver equals to new Firefox driver. Okay. Then a blank Firefox will open. We did this yesterday, right? Okay. And if you want to navigate this blank Firefox window to some website, you can write the function driver.get. Okay, give the website, say http gmail.com. Fine. So when you run this code, it will open Firefox and it will take you to Gmail. Fine. Now similarly, hold on. See, it's connecting to Gmail and it will open up Gmail. Fine. Similarly, you have got a driver for Chrome as well. I'll comment this line. Right. For Chrome, you have got Chrome driver. Okay. You can write over here Chrome driver equals to new Chrome driver. Look, in Java, in Selenium or in Eclipse, there is a feature. If you just write ch, okay, and hit Control space bar of your keyboard. Okay, so all the classes starting with ch will come up. Fine. And after that you write Chrome driver. Okay, right. And you can select then driver equals to new. Again you write ch, you'll get the classes and you are getting the Chrome driver class over here. You hit the Control space bar after writing ch. Okay, so Chrome driver will come up. Now you can take this driver to the same http gmail.com. Look, mentioning the protocol is very important. It is not like UTP where you can directly write the website name. Okay, over here mentioning the protocol that we are using HTTP protocol is very important. If I don't write, if I just write gmail.com, I will get an error. Okay, so don't skip the protocol. Writing protocol, that is HTTP gmail.com, is important. When I run this code, and most of you will get the error, and the error will be, this will be the exception, illegal state exception. Okay, the path to driver executable must be set by webdriver.chrome.driver system property. Okay, look, in case of Chrome, you need to have a third-party exe downloaded from the Selenium website. Okay, if you again, if I go to the official website of Selenium, right, and if I click on the download link, fine, and out here you will have third-party drivers and plugins. Fine. Okay. This is the Google Chrome driver plugin. All right. You need to click on this and go to the next page. You click on this link, latest release. Okay. And then again click on this link on the next page. Right. And you will reach the repository. Okay. Depending on your operating system, you can download the zip file. I've got Windows, so I'll download this. Even if you have got Windows 64-bit machine, you can still download this. Okay, it doesn't matter you have 32-bit or 64-bit, you can download the zip file, extract the exe. Exe will, like in my PC, I have kept exe in my F drive, chrome driver.exe. This is the exe. Okay, don't run this. All right, nothing will be achieved by running this exe. Okay, in your code, you need to set a system property. You need to write system dot set property. Okay, WebDriver dot Chrome dot driver. Okay, and in the path you need to give the path of Chrome driver exe, that is F drive Chrome driver.exe. That is, your Chrome driver is lying in F drive. You have to give this system property. One thing is for sure, make sure all your spellings are correct. In this, you cannot keep W capital. Everything has to be in the lower case. Okay, the wordings should be same as the wordings you were getting in WebDriver, in the error webdriver.chrome.driver. The same wordings should be over here, the ones which were there in the exception. Fine. Now system is an inbuilt class in Java, and set property is a static function in that class. So directly you are able to call system dot set property, because this is a static function inside the system class. Anything which is static can be directly called with the name of the class. So in the system we are setting this property, and now when I run the code, I'll see that Chrome will open up successfully. You see this? You see that it's actually navigating you to the Gmail website. Okay, and one more thing, right? One more thing. You will see this message. This is not an error. This is a normal message. Okay. Now, if the 1.2 note over here is, if I close this browser, okay, you think that the browser will be closed. But if you go to your task manager, then in your task manager, you will be seeing that the Chrome driver exe, this is the Chrome driver exe. Okay, it will still be running. So every time you run your code, okay, a Chrome driver exe will start up. You will have even if you close the browser, the exe will not stop. So this sometimes generates overhead on the system. Okay, so it's very important to close the driver like this, driver.quit. This, if you use this, then this will also close the exe. All right. So this is the importance of driver.quit. It will close the WebDriver session and also close the exe, which you had to close by going to the task manager. Because what happens is that when you are doing testing, when you are building scripts, you tend to run the program again and again 5, 6, 7, 10 times. So when you run it multiple times, each time it opens up a new exe, and sometimes the system hangs because of this, because a lot of Chrome driver exes, they keep on running. So make sure you don't do it. Okay. Right. Now, similarly, you have got other drivers for Internet Explorer. Okay, for Internet Explorer, you have got Internet Explorer driver. Okay, so if you use this, if I write over here Internet Explorer driver I equals to new Internet Explorer driver. Okay, and once you run this, again you will get an error. Okay, the path to driver executable must be set. Look for I as well. You have to download an exe the same way you download it for Chrome. Okay, you need to go to the official website of Selenium. Right, go to the download section, and this is the Internet Explorer driver server over here. Okay, fine. Based on your Internet Explorer, whether it is 32-bit I or a 64-bit I, fine, you can download it. Fine, I have downloaded it and kept it in my F drive. This is the one, iDriver server.exe. Okay, fine. So for Internet Explorer driver also, you have to set the system property, that is system dot set property WebDriver dot I dot driver, and the path to the iDriver exe, that is F drive iDriver server dot exe. Okay, that's it. Right, and when you run this, you will see that I will open up. Fine, and it's written that this is the initial page of WebDriver server, and even if you close this, the same thing happens. If you go to the task manager, you will be seeing, hold on, yes, the iDriver server.exe would still be running. Okay, right. So what you need to do is that also you need to quit iDriver. This will close the exe. These are important things. So for Chrome and I, you need to set the system property. But for Firefox, you don't need anything. You can simply run it directly. Okay, fine. These are the major drivers which you will be using. Okay, apart from them, there are other drivers, like as the name suggests, Safari driver. This is used for Safari. It is unstable. Lot of things they don't work on Safari driver. It is very unstable. Okay, Opera driver for Opera, and it is again unstable. Right, I have used it. Things they don't work on Opera and Safari as stably as they work on other drivers. Remote web driver. This is the driver which we look later on, and we'll see that it is actually used in case of Selenium GRID. Okay, it will be used in case of Selenium GRID. Fine, and HTML unit driver. Okay, we'll see this in some time as well. Okay, now one thing to note over here is that support for mobile has been removed. Okay, earlier mobile was supported. Right now, like Android or something has been removed, and the features have gone into a new tool known as Appium. Okay, Appium is a new tool into which actually is used for mobile automation. Fine, earlier Android driver, iOS driver and all were there in Selenium. Now they have been removed. Okay, right. So anyways, let's move forward. Okay, so we saw that there are different kinds of drivers, and few of the drivers we'll see later on, few of them we have seen now. But the question arises that if every driver class is different, okay, for Internet Explorer it is iDriver, Chrome driver, Firefox driver. If every driver class is different, will I have to write separate code for automating application in different browsers? If I have a requirement to automate my application in IE and Chrome and Firefox, will I write a code separately for automating it in IE, separately for Chrome, separately for Firefox? Okay, the answer is no, you will not write that. Okay, and the answer comes from the concept of interfaces in Java language. Okay, if when you learn the concept of interfaces in Java language, you will come to know that how to write a single code which will test the application on any browser. Okay, so let's talk about interfaces first. Fine. Now, what is an interface in Java? Right. Giving you a simple example, like for example, when you go to market, right? You go to any shop, you go to a bookstore, and you want to buy a book. So how do you decide whether the book is good or not? You look at the cover face of the book. Okay, if you like it, then you buy it. The cover face is like the interface. Okay, it actually doesn't tell you what is the intrinsic details in the book, right? But it gives you a fair idea that what the book is supposed, what information. I'm sorry. What information is book supposed to give you, right? Or for example, this is my website qtpselenium.com. Okay, this is the interface of my website. From the interface, you come to know that fine, we offer Selenium QTP trainings, right? You go to any training section. Hold on. You come to know that fine, these are the topics under Selenium. These are the other training courses which we offer. Okay, but you really don't know how the trainings are inside, actually how the trainings are. Fine. So this website is like an interface which tells what we do. Okay, fine. Similarly, you have got interfaces in Java language. Fine. And and um, I'll create a new interface. Okay, the interface will tell what the application is supposed to do. Fine. I'll create an interface, say phone interface. Okay, right. So I'll create a function like public void call and public void text. These are the two interface. These are the two functions in the interface phone. Fine. Call and text are the two functions inside the interface phone. Fine. In the functions will not have the body. Okay, interface is incomplete. It's abstract, but it surely tells you what it's supposed to do. With the phone, you can call or you can text. Create a new class known as iPhone. Fine. Right. So iPhone is a phone. There is a relationship over here. Okay. The relationship is a. iPhone is a phone. Fine. So class iPhone implements phone. Okay. When you say class iPhone implement phone or any class, when it is implementing an interface, it becomes mandatory for this class to implement all the functions which are there inside the interface. It is mandatory for the phone class, sorry, the iPhone class to implement all the functions in the phone interface. That's why it is giving you an error over here. Okay, the type iPhone must implement all the functions, right? Add unimplemented methods. So both the functions will come up, call and text inside this class. So if it is implementing, it has to implement all the functions. So as I told you, okay, I'll repeat it. Fine. Phone is an interface. Okay. iPhone class implements the phone interface. Okay. In the interface, you have got functions, but you have got no bodies to that to those functions. Okay. If a class is implementing a interface, it is mandatory for it to implement all the functions in the interface. Okay, right. For example, in the call function, I will print iPhone calling. If my voice breaks, please let me know. Okay, and in the text, I will write iPhone text. Right. This sign @override is an annotation. This tells you, if a layman looks at your code, he will come to know that with this annotation that this function is coming from the phone interface. Okay, you can omit it as well. It is not mandatory to keep it. Okay, but if you keep it, this means that this is coming from the phone interface. All right, fine. Now, if a class is implementing an interface, it is mandatory for it to implement all the functions. If I omit any one function, immediately I will get an error. See that I get the error. Okay, so that I can implement it partially. If I am implementing an interface, I have to implement it fully. Right. Similarly, if I create a new class known as, say, Samsung phone. Okay, right. Then Samsung phone will also implement the phone interface. Okay. Samsung phone will also implement the right. You can write over here Samsung calling and Samsung text. But what is the use of doing this? Look, what I did was, okay, technically with the help of diagram, I'll show. This was my phone interface. Okay, this is my Samsung class. This is my iPhone class. Okay, right. Now I asked both the classes to implement the phone interface. Okay, so whatever functions were there inside the phone interface, but what is the use of this? I could have not used the phone interface. I could have directly made the classes. What did I achieve by creating the phone interface? Okay, the usage is that this gives a structure to your application. In the same interface, and you will come to know that what all functions will be there in that particular phone. So any new phone coming up, the function names will remain same, call and text. Okay, the inner implementation can vary in every class. Samsung can implement the call function in its own way, right? iPhone can implement the call function in its own way, but the name of the function would be same. So if you just look at the interface later on, you can look, by looking at the interface, you can say that fine, all those driver classes, or sorry, all those iPhone class or the Samsung phone class, right, they will have these functions. Or if a new class comes up tomorrow, it will also have the same set of functions. Okay, right? This is very important. Now, that's why when we use Selenium in Selenium HQ, right, if you go to the Java doc, fine. Inside the Java doc, whatever is written in italics, these are all the classes. Okay, the ones which are written in italics, okay, these are interfaces. For example, mouse. It's written in italics. Mouse is an interface. And these are the implementing classes. Okay. If interface has parameters, do we have to pass the same parameters in the... Yes, if the functions have parameters, you have to do that. Okay. What is the need or advantage of creating an interface? Look, that's the thing. The advantage is that I just have two phone classes, and just by looking at the interface, I can say that both the phone classes will have these functions. If tomorrow a new phone class comes up, it will also have the same function. For example, you will understand now. Just a minute, you will just understand. WebDriver. Technically, WebDriver is an interface. Okay, everybody must have heard the word WebDriver. Okay, and these are the implementing classes which we just saw: Chrome driver, Firefox driver, IE driver. Okay, so all these classes, Safari, Remote, Opera, okay, all these classes will have the same set of functions which are there in this interface. So in the interface WebDriver, if you have got functions like these, close, find element, and all, a lot of functions are there. All these functions will be implemented by each of these classes. That is why when we were looking at driver Selenium, when we looked at Firefox driver, we created the object. We used the get function to take it to gmail.com, because the get function in the Firefox driver class is actually coming from the WebDriver interface. It is declared in the WebDriver interface and implemented by the Firefox driver class. Similarly, in Chrome driver also you have the get function, because Chrome driver also implements the WebDriver interface. And similarly, in IE also you will have the same get function. In IE also you can write dot get. The functions would be same in all the driver classes, because all the driver classes, they implement the same interface. So if you have to find some object on the page, if you have to click on a link in Firefox, the process or the commands would be the same as in case of Chrome or in case of IE. Are you understanding my point? Is there anyone who is not understanding my point? Right? Because all these driver classes, they are implementing the same interface. So the functions in these driver classes would be same. So you don't have to really worry that if I have to work on Firefox, or if I have to work on Chrome, or if I have to work on IE, what's going to be the process? Okay, the process is same, the functions are same. Okay, right. Now, suppose there is a requirement. Fine. There is a requirement that you have the browser to work on is Mozilla. Okay. This variable browser represents the browser on which you will be working on. Fine. This will be later on, we'll read it from an Excel file or a properties file or a text file, whatever it is. and we will open that browser. If I change it to Chrome, then my requirement is that the script should run on Chrome. If I change it to I, then script should run on I. Right. So how do we manage this situation? Okay, to manage this situation, at times like people say that use the if else condition. If the browser is Firefox, fine, then or Mozilla, right, then create the object of Firefox driver. Okay, else if the browser is Chrome, fine, create the object of Chrome driver. Fine. Else if the browser is I, right, create the object of I driver. But will this help us? Suppose I have to open up a website, navigate to a web page and click on a link. Okay, so if the browser is Firefox, then open Firefox, take Firefox to http say gmail.com. Okay, so I'll just call it ff. Right, then for Chrome driver also, you launch Chrome driver, but you take Chrome driver to Gmail, and for I also, you launch I and you take I to Gmail. But will I write the code for every driver separately after reaching Gmail? I have to click on a link. So I have to click on a link over here in Firefox. If it is Chrome, then I'll use the click on the link on Chrome, then on I. Although the function names are same, but how will I manage the object? The object reference which is calling the function is different every time. So will I write the code for every driver separately? Okay, are you getting my point? Right. So what is the solution over here? You cannot just write the code for doing the same process flow. I have to go to Gmail and say I have to log in. Okay, so I just cannot write the code of the same process flow again and again. It's not possible, right? Or it's not feasible. It's not a good solution. Fine. So again, interfaces they come into they come for a rescue. Okay. So the first point about the interface which I discussed was that whatever functions are there in the interface, the same functions are there in the implementing classes. Okay, WebDriver is an interface, and because all the classes which are there in the WebDriver documentation, okay, they are implementing the interface, so the functions would be the same. Okay, but there is one more usage. Now listen to this carefully. People, they get confused at this point sometimes. They get confused. Okay, I'll create a new class known as test phone. Okay, right. First of all, if I create the object of the phone interface, it will immediately give me an error. You cannot create the object of the phone interface. Phone interface is incomplete. It is abstract. It doesn't hold anything inside it. The classes have to implement this interface. So in Java, you cannot create the objects of interfaces. But yes, you can create the objects of the implementing classes. For example, Samsung phone ph say sp equals to new Samsung phone. You can create the object of iPhone ip equals to new iPhone. So when Samsung phone calls the call function, okay, and iPhone calls the call function, the function name is same, but it's called for separate phones. So Samsung calling and iPhone calling would be printed. Okay, right. Now, suppose Samsung phone says that, fine, I implement the phone interface. I have got the call and text functions, but I have got one more function known as public void, say Google Maps or something, which is not coming from the phone interface, which is a unique feature which is provided by me. It is not provided by the phone interface. Okay, Google Maps is something which is provided by only Samsung. Say, just taking an example. Alright, fine. So in the test phone class, I can call the function Samsung phone.Google Maps. That's for sure. But this will not be there in iPhone. iPhone will not have the Google Maps function. Right. Okay. Fine. This thing is clear. If anybody is having any questions, you can let me know. If my voice is breaking, then also you can let me know. Fine. Now you can create the object in a different way. Okay, till now we have been creating the objects like this. Now I will write phone P equals to new iPhone, or phone P equals to new Samsung, whatever you want to write. Now what I am doing is, this is different than this line. I am writing interface reference equals to new class which is implementing the interface. Okay, the reference is of the interface and the object is of the class which is implementing the interface. If you create the object like this, okay, you can only access the functions in the class which are coming from the interface. For example, I'll write Samsung phone over here. I can call p.call function, p.text, but I cannot call p.Google Maps. When you create the object like this, okay, you cannot call p.Google Maps because Google Maps is not coming from the phone interface. Okay, when you create the object like this, you can only call the functions which are coming from the interface. Alright, now what is the advantage of this? The advantage is that over here P is pointing to Samsung phone. When I run this, hold on, I'll just put a demarcating boundary, okay, and when I run this, see Samsung calling, Samsung text, it gets printed. Now I can make P point towards my iPhone class as well. Dynamically, P can be pointing towards Samsung or iPhone, any. Okay, so now if I write p.call and p.text, okay, if I run this, so first it will call for Samsung and then it will call for iPhone because P started pointing towards the object of iPhone. So this is the advantage. Okay, the advantage is that I can write, say, phone X equals to null. That means X is not pointing towards any object. Based on my requirement, I can make X point towards Samsung. Okay, or I can make X point towards iPhone. But I will only be able to access the functions coming from the phone interface inside the class. The advantage of this is that earlier we used to create the objects like this, right? Firefox driver equals to new Firefox driver, or Chrome driver CD equals to new Chrome driver. Fine. So instead of doing like this, we can write over here, say WebDriver driver equals to new Firefox driver. Okay, so driver will point towards Firefox. Okay, or WebDriver driver2 equals to new Chrome driver. I can also write like this. Okay, so driver2 will point towards Chrome, driver will point towards Firefox. Maybe I decide tomorrow that this driver2 has to point towards Firefox. So I can write driver2 equals to new Firefox as well. This is the advantage. So driver2 can point dynamically towards Firefox or Chrome or I can dynamically move my handle on various drivers. Because WebDriver is the interface and Firefox driver is the class implementing the interface. Similar to phone, which is an interface, and Samsung phone is the class which is implementing. Okay, so similarly I can write like this, but driver can move dynamically. Okay, right. I can take, say, I can write over here WebDriver driver equals to null. That is, WebDriver is not pointing towards anything. Based on my requirement, I can make this driver point towards Chrome driver, or I can also make it point towards Firefox driver. So this will be the solution. When you have to open the website dynamically, you don't write code like this. Your browser is this. You declare WebDriver equals to null on the top, the interface reference, and based on the requirement, you make driver point towards Firefox driver or Chrome driver or iDriver. Okay, you don't have to write the get functions over here. You can just launch the browser of your own choice. Once you have launched the browser, once you have initialized the driver, you can call the common functions driver.get to the website http gmail.com. Okay, print the title driver dot get title, quit the driver dot quit. The functions will be the same in all the driver classes because the driver classes are implementing the WebDriver interface. And because they are implementing the WebDriver interface, you can make driver point dynamically towards Firefox, Chrome or IE. So this is the logic which will dynamically open your browser. If I have written Chrome over here and when I run this code, Chrome will open up. It will go to Gmail and see, it prints the title of the page and it closes. Right. If I change it to say Mozilla and if I run it, Mozilla will open up, it will go to Gmail and it will quit. Fine. Look, when you do it yourself with your own hands, you'll understand it better. Okay. Right. Anybody with any questions? Any questions? Any questions from anybody? Yes, today I will be emailing you the recordings. I will be uploading them. Yesterday actually I uploaded the recording, but it's gone for a toss, like nothing is coming up in it.